Okay, so this will be a feedback for hysteresis? 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 So I meant to do this earlier, but just got around to it, and I saw that Bacon Morrow has already responded to you with some feedback. So I'll try not to cover anything they already said. Try to hopefully provide like different areas, and we'll see how it goes. Apologies in advance because I'm not too familiar with like the Bob matchup. I mainly just I know like basics. Okay, so right at the start, you have a lot of like these quick whiffs that are it's kind of tough, right? It's really fast and it's really hard to see like okay, you can't really get like an explosive whiff punish. And this I watched the match a little bit earlier, and it happens throughout the match where you get a quick whiff, you try to go for like maybe a jab punish, which is understandable because it's fast whiff punish, but you don't quite make it. In situations like that, consider 1+4 down 4 stuff like that. It's gonna have a bit better range. Maybe in this range 1+4 can get to the guaranteed switch one, but you'd have to like test that out and see how that goes. But it's like early on at the start, right? You're just gonna still try and gain information on your opponent, but this is for like future reference, right? If you get a quick whiff, if your reactions are on point, or you're just like, all right, I know he whiffed something, he's got to have some time to move, just down 4, right? Just get some chip in damage similar as you would with like a 1-2, but the down 4 will have a bit better range than 1-2 will. Maybe 2-4, but I would no. That can be a whole nother that can be a whole nother discussion. Okay, so again, this whole sequence right here, right? Yeah, I think Bacon already talked about it, but it looks like a little bit of like matchup unfamiliarity, right? What are you trying to like keep pressing here, right? Pretty sure that low's plus on hit, maybe neutral at worst, right? But the Bob is doing back 2, and back 2 is. Well, actually, let me just make sure I'm not talking on my ass. Okay, so 13 frames, so it's like a quote unquote down forward one for him, and it's plus 6 to 7 on hit, and yet you continue to try and challenge it here, right? Again, you block something and he goes for the string stuff. I think it's like maybe it was nerves and maybe you're just trying to challenge something. But in those situations, you just respect anytime you get hit, right? Unless you have more knowledge of like, okay, no, that's negative on hit. They shouldn't be able to continue their turn or something, or I'm letting them get away with stuff. It's better to just hang back, right? It's a lot. Like this damage is already adding up, and already you're at like close to half health, and Bob does great damage, so it's a tough situation to be in. So consider that in the future, right? It's like hang back, let it go back to neutral, and then try to utilize more movement to get out of the way, as opposed to even if you are using like the safer get off me tools like wall standing 4 or maybe a jab or something. It's like, okay, at some points you just like, all right, I gotta cut my losses and just move out of the way when possible. And right here, he shows like he's willing to challenge the CD, but I don't know. He doesn't do it as much later. So sorry, ignore my point here. Is it okay? So is it possible to do Oh well, you did 4 3+4. When you did 4 3+4, is it possible to aim for like 1+4 instead? Okay. So right here, right, you block the down 4-2 and immediately go for 4 3+4. Actually, excuse me, that's not too bad. I would have said experiment more with down with 1+4, down 4, etc. to to keep chipping at him in those situations, right? Like if you, yeah, the forward 3+4 is more explosive, and you know you're gonna get a counter hit launch. But the entire time, the Bob's not really pressing buttons when he shouldn't, right? Like any time that he knows that his turn is over, or he's like, if I try to challenge here, I might get counter hit, right? Even Switch, he's pretty respectful of Switch. He doesn't try to challenge it too much, right? And so forward 3+4 isn't necessarily going to be as rewarding as it might be, right? It's still fine to throw out, but consider, you know, opting instead for 1+4 or down 4 for the chip damage. Oh, unfortunate. What was the reasoning, right? Yeah, maybe it was just a good reaction. Maybe I was just gonna do it anyway. Right. So right here, this is a weird situation, right? Your back turn, your opponent's back is to the wall, and this is where you got to keep in mind, you know, your stage awareness. Right here, down 3+4, switch 4, 100% would have worked, right? He's right in front of the wall. Wall bounces were buffed so that no matter where they hit, right, you're gonna get the wall bounce. I don't know exactly about back turn, but I'm like 90% sure you do. I would double check that in an experiment, right? You really need to capitalize on the back turn option you have there, right? I think switch 4 would have gotten you a combo at least, and would have sealed the deal. You still got it, right? I think. Yeah. That was solid. But yeah, definitely, like, he was right at the wall. Switch 4 would have gotten you a wall bounce. I would double check that, but I'm like 80% sure it does. Oh. Why, right? In what universe? Maybe you're going for the high crush, but I don't know. Maybe I feel like you have better options. In what universe, right? Is in a tournament match, right, against ideally relatively strong players, the sharp reactions of an opponent. In what world is, you know, down 4-3 really gonna work? I'm not the biggest fan of the move, even if you're facing an opponent with like a lot of high crushing. You have down back 2 if you need it. I'm pretty sure down 2 high crushes. Then I don't actually, never mind on that one. But it's like it's just too slow. It's just too slow, right? And look at that tracking, right? An opponent's always going to be trying to like move around and stuff, and 26 frames. What on earth? I mean, it's plus on hits, so that's cool, I guess. But like, yeah, like, let's check this before. Yeah, 20 frames, right? And maybe you're just like, all right, it's a safe option, but clearly the tracking's like not in your favor if it has tracking at all. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so right here he pushes you to the wall, and it's tough, right? This is a very tough situation. The Bob at any point can do like CD1 and just launch you and stuff like that. But what exactly was the call out with down 4-2, right? That just seems to me more of like a, oh, this was tournament nerves or anything. The moment you're in that situation, you get pushed to the wall, you're at like an awkward angle, and the Bob gives like even like a pixel of breathing room, just sidestep, get out of the way. Just get out of the way right then and there, right? Don't rely on a move, don't rely on him doing something to like run it, because he hasn't run into your 4-3+4. He ran into like your switch stuff a little bit, but you know, you're not gonna suddenly try and enforce switch mix-ups at the, like, when your back is to the wall. My opinion is that right immediately when you get to that wall, and you know, like, at the very least, if he hits you and he gets the wall spot, it should be like a side wall spot, so he's not gonna really get like a full combo on you. I think you should just start sidestepping right away and try to disalign yourself from the wall. Unfortunate. Is that all guaranteed? Right, and at the very end there, like, what was that supposed to be? That looked like another 4-3+4? Oh no, that looked like 4-3. It's like the start of a 4-3. You're right. You're in a tough situation. You're backed into the corner. You got nowhere to run, and the Bob's just like waving at you. I think Bacon Maru talks about it, right? You know, use 3. This is where you should use jabs, right? Because he's a lot more closer to you right here than he is before. I mean, unfortunately, the jab would have been crushed, but right, this is where you want to use 3. This is where you maybe back 3. I'm not the biggest fan of the move, but it's a mid, so whatever. And again, like forward 3, I don't understand what the goal of that was gonna be. Yeah, and so this is where really it's like, all right, just use 3, and you don't have to use the string, right? Just use it as like a quick poke, get some frame advantage, disrupt his offense, and then try and leverage that into further like to make him slow down, to give yourself more breathing room. Okay, so wait, was that it again? You did another forward 3. You dashed, you hit him. Okay, so right, like this is another situation of, yes, you use 4-3+4, fine. You're leveraging the big frame advantage you got from the jab, solid. But again, it's like he's not gonna press into it, right? He hasn't pressed into it the entire match. He hasn't really shown that he's not like a very greedy player. I'm of the opinion that maybe you should try and experiment with 1+4, down 4, etc. to keep chipping away at him in those situations, right? It's not a lot, right? This is down 4 does so little damage, but it's like the 4-3+4 isn't working out. All you're doing is resetting back to neutral, and then the ball's in his court, right? Like Bob's approach is going to be far better than yours, as we just saw here, right? His tools to approach and keep out, etc. are going to be a bit stronger than what you can throw out, unless you leverage distance and stuff. And I think you were better off just going for like down 4 1+4 stuff. He got the tech catch, I guess. Oh, that's unfortunate. Why, right? Why go for the grab? Josie doesn't really have like a very scary grab game, and he's always shown to be always backdashing all the time. Whether he blocks 4-3+4, whether he eats a jab, whether he blocks a jab, etc. He backdashes to try and bait out a whiff from you, and then to do jab into grab like that. I just think it was just very questionable. Like if you're gonna go for the grab, just go for the low. That's just my 2 cents, but I think I've harped on the point enough. Let's see how it goes. Yeah. Maybe you're expecting it to hit. I can't tell. I can't tell if that was like if it's just Josie's awkward movement or your cancel's a little bit off, but it's just so sad. Her backdash is so shit. Okay, so right here, right, this is like a huge whiff opportunity, and I don't know if it was like tournament hesitation or something. Just up forward 3+4, right? Up forward 3+4, or wait, actually, let me see. Okay, so you do a jab, right? Think of it. I feel like you have stronger options you can do here, right? You can do up forward 3+4 for the. God, that thing hits so far. Easy whiff punish for the knockdown into Oki or whatever situation you want set up, and also like. Even let's say you're like, oh shit, I'm too late. I don't want. You're worried about up forward 3+4 being blocked and then you get punished, right? It's still a whiff, so it's a lot of recovery for the Bob. So you can still do forward 4 or forward 3, etc. Stuff like that, right? You can every whiff that your opponent does is an opportunity for either a punish or pressure, right? And sometimes you're just like, I'm just gonna let him whiff and take it back to neutral. That's also fine. But in situations like that, when you notice it's a big whiff, go for the punish with the up forward 3+4, or try and leverage it to start your pressure, right? Do forward forward 3. Bob's still going to be in recovery. He's not going to have enough time to like sidestep forward forward 3. Or if you are worried about that, just do forward forward 4, etc. Did it happen? Oh, I think it just went back too fast. Yeah. Okay. So this is tough. It's like you got him. I feel like all right. So this is where I was thinking, like, again, leverage 1+4 a lot more, right? He's just patiently waiting. The low is unseeable, right? I'm not crazy. Yeah. Holy shit. It's an unseeable low that goes into switch, right? And you're not gonna have to worry about him sidestepping anything because it tracks pretty well. You're not gonna have to worry about like, that's so interesting. You're not gonna have to worry about like, oh, he's gonna magically low parry or anything. He's waiting to see what you're gonna do when you approach with, and he's approaching with a lot of crouch dashes, and he's not challenging you. I think that means he's scared, patient, whatever it is. He is passive enough where 1+4 would have easily done work to chip in, enable more pressure, etc. I'm hesitant about the spacing, like, to get the load, only the low to hit and get your switch ones. But again, like, even if you don't get the guaranteed switch one, just having that switch pressure is solid, right? Especially when his back is to the wall. Like if you did, so you back him up here. He's respecting you. Like right here, if you did 1+4 and then like right there, 1+4 would have easily reached, and then you could have gone for a switch mix up and going for switch 4, easy wall bounce opportunity right there, as opposed to giving up your turn with the string, which I don't think is the worst thing. I just think it's like, leverage your new tools more. Okay, so you just blocked a slash kick. You're horribly minus. Like what was your game plan here, right? So let's say, okay, so it looked like you were going for down back 2. The crush frame starts at frame 6. You're actually, how minus is running 3. Holy shit, the thing's... Wait, is this the move? Is this actually the move? Yeah, holy shit, that thing's +9. What a disgusting... Right, so he's +9. So you're adding 9 frames of lag to your move, right? So shortcut the math here. When you're down back 2 would have crushed on frame 6, you're now waiting till frame 15. Right? Any jab is gonna beat that. You're not gonna crush in time. Even if you wait, maybe if you waited a little bit, sure. But I think it's kind of like you take the mix up and you wait for your next opportunity to try and take back your turn and move on to other things. Oh, that's another thing. It's like in tournament, right? If you lose, and you get the stage select. Wait, did you do random? Can't. Oh no, you chose it. Okay. Yeah, no, I was gonna say, choose a stage you're comfortable with, right? Where you feel like you can always leverage walls to your advantage. If you lose with Josie, always pick a wall stage. Always pick a wall stage, right? You're just so much better with walls than you are without them. And if you're comfortable on this stage, cool. But yeah, I was just gonna say leverage the power to your advantage. Right, so again, it's a whiff opportunity, and you try to go for a quick whiff punish, but you're not in range to reach. Down 4 would be fine, right? I don't know about 1+4. I have to like check the range. Or again, using that pressure, just be like, all right, forward, forward, forward. See what happens. I feel like I would have caught his backdash. And so it's another situation of what are you pressing right there? Let's just continue. So this is a player preference situation right here, right? So he does a move that forces you into crouch. Josie has pretty strong options from full crouch, right? It's not like the craziest full crouch game, but like full crouch down 4-4 does so much damage, right? How much damage does that thing do? Holy shit, 25 damage. Right, so it does, and it's a launcher on Bob, right? If he tries to move around or if he tries to press something to challenge you, you'll counter hit launch. And at 20 frames from full crouch, like alright, hold up. I'm not crazy, right? Yeah. Like, think about it, right? Anna's sweep from full crouch is 20 frames. The shit's just unseeable. Yeah, you can react to like, oh, someone's, if you start crouching in front of their face, they're gonna challenge you, and probably with a hop kick or some shit. But if they put a move that leaves you in full crouch, right? I don't know Bob's move in the frame data, but that leaves you a prime opportunity to just be like, oh, you put me in full crouch down forward 4. You haven't used it throughout the match, so he's not really going to be expecting it. He hasn't really challenged you even when you're doing switch pressure, even when you're doing crouch dash pressure, right? He's not someone who's gonna start pressing buttons and stuff like that. So every little opportunity you get like that, like if the opponent leaves you what is supposed to be a favorable situation for them, right? Like you're in full crouch, he's safe, etc. You can't really like punish him. But you have a full crouch move that does decent damage, decent frame advantage, and a counter hit launcher, right? And I don't think he's not gonna block unless he suddenly blocks low right now, and I just eat shit for that. Right? Yeah, like he would have. I don't know what the down back 4 is about. He would have easily eaten the full crouch, but I mean the mini sidestep. I don't know. Yeah, that's fine. Right, again, you try to leverage your whiff punish with the 1-2 into that, but he's never pressed into it, right? I've repeated this enough times, so I'm not gonna try and like I hope I don't come off as like too aggressive. That's not my goal here. My goal is just to point out that like, hey, look, like again, if it didn't work the 3rd, 4th, 5th time, the 6th time, he's not going to press into it. He's not under any pressure. He has the life lead. He's more confident in his neutral than you are, than facing, he's not really worried about Josie's approach or anything. This is really where, like, down 4, 1+4, something like that. Oh, I'm surprised he didn't finish it. So, okay, so wait. Use a crash dash 3, crash dash 3. So, another option, again, this is always tough in these heat of the moment situations, right? I feel like he knows enough about Josie's switch to respect it at the wall. Like, he's not going to press too much buttons into it. He's not really challenging you. He's letting you get away with a lot of, like, the crash dash cancels, right? And are you doing it into block? Are you going from block into the crash dash? Yeah, so on block, he's not challenging you. I think in that situation, you just go for CD 1+2, right? His movement is a bit restricted, so you don't have to worry about him sidestepping to one side at least, right? He's respected your previous crash dash options, right? And yeah, like CD 1+2 is like slightly slower. Let's double check. Yeah, it's like a frame, or it's a few frame. It's like a frame slower than CD3, but the important thing is that it's more active. Actually, no. It's not telling me. it's more active, right? And it's like if he's respected two CD3 cancels into it and whatever, I feel like you were fine going for like CD1 plus 2 and then, leverage the pressure. Again, right there should have been like, even at that range, right? I feel like just throughout the match, it's a sort of recognizing that, okay, my opponent with something, I've been way too far for a jab with punish. So maybe down forward 4, right? Some combination of 1 plus 4, down forward 4, etc. Or up forward 3 plus 4 if you're sharper on the trigger. Is it up forward 3 plus 4? I-14. Yeah, I-14. What a solid move. I like that move a lot. Never know what to do with the move. Why? Right? Josie's only got a 1 plus 2 break, right? You don't your grab games or whatever, you're not necessarily a grappler. I think given Josie's new switch option, if you're gonna go for a grab, you go for switch. You go for 1 plus 4 instead, right? It's like without just an extra break of like either a 1 break or a 2 break, there's just no mix up there. And your pressure is fine. Like he hasn't shown to be moving around a lot. He's respecting forward 4-3 for whatever reason. Maybe he's not used to it, right? Or maybe Bob's sidestep is kind of whack. But right there, right, if he's just gonna linearly like just wait for your pressure to be over and wait for you to do something too aggressive, unseeable low, baby. I'd use it and abuse it, in my opinion. Did they nerf the tracking on that side? I forget. That's unfortunate. I felt like it should have connected, but whatever. Well, it's unfortunate. Okay, so wait, what happened there? So, were you just holding forward? This is season 3, right? I can't even. No, yeah, it's season 3 or season 4, whatever. What a dumb move. I'm talking about CD1. Rip. Yeah, I talked about it before, so I'm not gonna worry about it. It's like, let's just finish it up and see how it goes. Why the wall standing 1 there, right? Like wall standing 1's cool and whatever, but one, you're trying. I don't know if you're trying to leverage the counter hit, but again, he's never really pressed anything when he doesn't want to. Like it's never gonna be a situation of he pressed something into a situation where you're gonna get like a counter hit reward or anything. And even just without that, right? Just the distance is so bad. So I think like, yeah, you just do wall standing 4. Or think about it again, right? Look, this is a person. So okay, so when you get to the block blow, okay, so this is a person who didn't step forward 3, didn't step your CD cancels until after much later, after like what's the word? Until you use too many of them. He's like, all right, I'm gonna try and challenge you now. Think about it, in this situation, you could go for a punish. You could also just try and leverage it into, full crouch down forward 4 again. Maybe I'm too high on that move, and maybe I'm just setting you up for failure. So, take it with a, excuse me, exercise some caution, I guess. It's up to you. But right there, it's like, don't use wall standing 1, I guess. That's the main point. You gotta, let's continue and see how it goes. Unfortunate. Why is my phone going crazy? Okay, so I mean, unfortunate, but whatever. Okay, so summary. Neutral. I feel like your unfamiliarity with the matchup, you tried to keep challenging in too many places where you shouldn't, right? And your approach was fine, but you also need to be aware of like, okay, what is my opponent letting me get away with? If my opponent blocks like double forward 4-3 in a row and their back is to the wall and they haven't sidestepped at all, right? I think you can, go for more higher risk stuff, right? I mean, you're already going for higher risk stuff with forward 4-3, but like, doing 1+4 after forward 4-3 is blocked, doing CD 1+2 to try and like keep leveraging the pressure without having as much pushback or something, right? Stuff like that, right? Try to take advantage of, okay, what is my opponent ducking? What is my opponent respecting? What is my opponent challenging? And then adjust your offense based on that, right? If your opponent eats like CD3, down forward 4, CD3, down forward 4, CD3, then, try a different option, doing like, okay, he's clearly not going to duck, so CD 1+2. You're sacrificing the damage you would have gotten from CD3, but you're getting more pressure and plus frames, right? And it helps differentiate your tempo so he doesn't try and like catch onto your timings as easily. Other neutral aspects, I don't think it was the worst. I just think it was kind of like this unfamiliarity of, okay, when can I challenge, when can I not? And I think you got to be more mindful of that. The only time that I think you were just like deer in the headlights was when, again, in that first round where he got your back to the wall and you need to start moving right out of the way. Keep yourself disaligned from the wall. Don't let your opponent just get a clean wall splat, right? And don't challenge with moves. Don't try and challenge with down forward 2, regardless if it's like fancy evasive properties and stuff like that. Excuse me. So neutral wasn't the worst. I just think you need to be leveraging your unseeable options more and take advantage of the fact that this dude is not really ducking you as much, right? Even when he's ducking you, I think you could leverage like, a switch 3 every now and again for chip damage. Right. Your turn is over and it is -1, but just, it's about racking up the damage. Don't use throws, right? I'm not the biggest fan of the throws. The only time, like really with Josie, the only time I see you using a throw is like, if your back is to the wall and your opponent's close enough, just let it rip. Just use that 2+4 throw, right? If you get it, boom, you have a nice Oki situation and they're to the wall. If they break it, you're free from the wall, right? There's no downside to it unless you have an opponent who's ducking a lot. Then watch out. But doing like jab into a throw when the opponent's just hasn't shown any pressure, leverage your unseeable lows more. 1+4, down 4, etc. Combos and Oki. Combos are fine. I thought your combos were solid. No nonsense, bread and butter, and you're good to go. Oki is a bit more tricky. I forgot. I have to like analyze more. I remember thinking there was like the Bob did something on his wake up situation, but you weren't respecting him. Maybe it was the other way around. I can't remember. It is what it is. Matchup stuff, right? It's really just about even if it's not like you don't need to learn like the specific string, but you just have to recognize like, okay, I'm getting hit with something, and if it's like a low, it's rare that it's like you can. It's rare for lows to be plus on hit so that they continue pressure, but it's more like if you get hit by something, just respect it, try to block it until you block something, and then you can try and like leverage that a bit more, right? And he never used like Hell Sweep from Bob at all, right? And so it's like, just block, just keep blocking. You're not gonna be put in a knockdown situation, right? And don't try to like challenge too much when you get hit by something. If you block something, maybe. I don't know. Oh yeah, yeah, punishment matchup. It's again, vary up your whiff punishment options, right? It's like you're trying to use jabs, which is understandable. They're safe, but clearly they're not working out. And I think you should have. I think Bacon talked about that. Is that you didn't really. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So he's like, you didn't really adjust too much on your approach, but also you didn't adjust too much in your other areas, right? Like if all of your jab, or if all of your whiff punishes with jab were whiffing, right? Then alternate your options, try and experiment with other stuff, and just keep that in mind, right? It's not just it's a lot of information to keep track of, but it's important information, right? So you want to keep track of how is your opponent reacting, why aren't they stepping forward 3 after I do it 2 times in a row, and why do they just keep letting themselves get backed into the wall, and more importantly, what am I doing throughout this match that has not worked out? Take notice of. He's not pressing into 4-3+4. He's not in range where my jab punishes, or my jab whiff punishes are working out, etc. Stuff like that. Personal opinion stuff, options that I think are cool, but your preferences may vary. Not too many. I feel like it wasn't like you weren't utilizing effective options. It was just more of like the tools you were using were not an adequate fit for the situations you were in, right? The jabs are a solid whiff punishment, but they clearly weren't working out, and you need to adjust that. The full crouch, I always like full crouch down forward 4 because I think it's just a fun chunky low. And I do think, leverage your unique tools for unique situations. If the opponent puts you in full crouch, use your lows. It high crouches, right? You're in full crouch. You're not gonna have to worry about him trying to jab you out of anything. And he hasn't really ducked that much until he gets to like the wall and stuff, right? Yeah, stuff like that. If you're put in a unique situation, leverage your unique tools, right? If your opponent just puts you in full crouch, I don't see a reason why you shouldn't. The opponent hasn't up until that point in the match, the opponent hasn't given you any reason to doubt that full crouch down forward 4 wouldn't work there. And 1+4, right? Fancy new unseeable low, right? If the opponent is just doing whatever in neutral, it's unseeable. And yes, you run into the risk of like overusing switch and the opponent getting used to your timings, but he respected you a lot throughout the match, right? You did a bunch of switch cancels, a switch into crouch dash cancels, and he respected it. He never, even when you were crouch dashing in your face for an empty crouch dash, right? He never tried to like down forward to you or whatever. And it's like that to me, that just is the sign of like, hey, this is a more passive opponent, and I can leverage this to my advantage, right? Oh, and like CD 1+2, right? If your opponent just keeps blocking stuff and they just keep blocking whatever you do, you don't necessarily have to give up your turn, right? You can vary up your timing with CD 1+2. Yes, it's a bit slower, and yes, you risk getting jabbed maybe or whatever, but it's more about like the dude just never challenged you, and you need to leverage that to your advantage more. What else? Any other lasting thoughts? Not at the moment. I just kind of said my 2 cents. Oh, I didn't put in the disclaimer. Hey, I'm just, a nerd who likes Tekken, and I like Josie. Take what I say with a grain of salt. It's not necessarily gospel. It's just more like, hey, look, here's what I've noticed that I've seen worked in other situations, whether it's match footage or my own personal experience playing Josie, and give it a shot, right? If you have any questions, feel free to ask. People in the Josie Discord are always cool. They're always ready to help and with any specific stuff. I'd recommend checking out, Bread's video on the 1+4 setups. I think you could be leveraging that tool a bit more. You're going to get more mileage out of it. You're going to get more damage out of it than you would with down 4. I'm a big fan of like unseeable lows. It's like, those tools can never go wrong. Cool.